it's another day on Political Voice. So we'll talk about issues surrounding the polity. And I welcome you to the program. I'm Moses Humphrey. Now, first, let's keep you abreast of political events around the nation. Now, factional speaker of the Rivers State House of Assembly, Edison Ahie, has declared the seats of 27 lawmakers vacant. The speaker said on today, actually, earlier today, that the seats of the lawmakers who decamped to the All Progressives Congress, APC, from the People's Democratic Party, PDP, were declared vacant in line with Section 109, subsection 1G and 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended. The political crisis in Rivers State took a new turn earlier today, being Wednesday, with the rollout of bulldozers for the demolition of the House of Assembly by the state government. Now, reports indicated that over 10 bulldozers and other heavy-duty equipment were rolled out for the demolition of the House of Assembly complex on Moscow Road, Port Harcourt City local government area as early as 5 a.m. Wednesday, which is today. Now, the demolition of the complex actually began at about 7:30 a.m. Sources in the state claim that the demolition of the assembly complex was being undertaken by the state government. And do recall that this is coming some weeks after the hallowed chambers of the state assembly was burned down by unknown political thugs. Now, it should be recalled that the legislative arm of the state has been involved in a serious crisis following the move by some lawmakers to impeach the sitting governor, Sir Siminalayi Fubara. To another political story now, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on Tuesday asked the Senate to confirm 19 nominees for appointment as commissioners of the National Population Commission, NPC. The request of the president was contained in a letter read out by Senate President Godswill Akpabio at the plenary on Tuesday. And now to the two political stories up for conversation today. Ondo State is still much in the news. Well, this time, Governor Akeredolu begins another medical leave from today. A report says that he transmits power to his deputy, Ayedatiwa. Has he really transmitted power? That's another thing. Well, and then to Abia State, where Governor Oti presents 567.2 billion naira 2024 budget to the State House of Assembly. We'll delve into this conversation in the course of the program, and I have Dr. Moses Adebayo, who will be joining to have this conversation when it's time for that conversation. But first, let's take global roundup. Harvard University says its president, Claudine Gay, will keep her job despite mounting controversy over her appearance before Congress last week. Dr. Gay was facing pressure to step down after she failed to say whether students calling for the genocide of Jewish people would be disciplined. In a statement by the Harvard Corporation, the highest governing board at the university on Tuesday, the school's board said it was reaffirming its support for her leaders. The statement reads that extensive deliberations affirm the school is confident that President Gay is the right leader to help the community heal and to address the very serious societal issues it is facing. The news Dr. Gay will remain as president comes just days after the head of the University of Pennsylvania, Elizabeth Magill, said she would resign after facing a similar backlash over her own congressional testimony. Finally, on Global Roundup, Kenyan President William Ruto has announced that visitors to Kenya from across the world will no longer require a visa from January 2024. According to reports, the President Ruto said his government had developed a digital platform to ensure all visitors would receive an electronic travel authorization in advance instead of needing to apply for a visa. Well, Kenya will be the fourth African country to make the change and offer unrestricted travel to Africans after the Gambia, Benin, and Seychelles. Now, Seychelles, an East African island nation that relies heavily on tourism, was in fact the first to do so in 2016. And now, to the major talking point of the day. Well, Richard Olatunde, the Chief Press Secretary of the Ondo State Governor, Mr. Oluwarotimi Akeredolu, has said the governor will commence another round of medical leave. Today, being Wednesday, the 13th of December 2023, as a follow-up to his medical treatment. Now, Mr. Olatunde said in a statement on Tuesday that during Governor Akeredolu's absence, the Deputy Governor, Mr. Lucky Aidatiwa, will assume the responsibilities of the governor in acting capacity. Now, do recall that Governor Akeredolu, a senior advocate of Nigeria and former president of the Nigerian Bar Association, won his re-election as the state governor in October 2020 and was sworn in for a second term in office in February 2021, which is his second tenure, has not been smooth since January 2023, as he had to be flown abroad for treatment over a medical condition that has not been made known to Nigerians. Now, the 67-year-old politician returned to Nigeria in September after months overseas, but then stayed in Ibadan, the Oyo state capital, where he has a property. Now, despite his ill health, Governor Akeredolu has been under intense pressure from opposition parties and activists to resign or hand over power to his deputy in line with the 1999 constitution. Also, the governor's loyalists in the State House of Assembly have been at loggerheads with Deputy Governor Aiyedatiwa, a situation which has attracted President Bola Tinubu's intervention. All right, so let's bring on Dr. Moses Adebayo. Well, thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure, and I greet everyone listening right now, watching from wherever in the world.
Now, there's a bit of confusing information actually as to whether or not the governor has transmitted power to his deputy. There are talks that the spokesman said, but then the State Assembly, as at this morning, as at some hours ago, were yet to receive the letter transmitting power to the deputy. Why has that been such a difficult thing to do?
Well, sometimes you imagine whether we practice democracy as it should be, or we just front. We have a facade, a quasi-democracy, whereby on the one hand we deceive ourselves, because not the world now. The world is too much of a global village. It has shrunk since McLuhan said it in the 60s, to the point that there's nothing you can hide. Or we just want to just be a kind of, we're accepted in the global village, in the global community as a democratic nation. Because all that has transpired thus far in Ondo State is not only ludicrous, it presents history, or as in history is endangered in this case. Those that will come back in years to look at what happened in Ondo State will shudder in disbelief that, and this could happen in a state that pride itself. But I remember when Ondo State was still one before Ekiti was taken out in 1996 as the state that has the most professors, implying that it's a most learned state. This is a state that has become a butt of jokes. It's unfortunate that what should be easily adhered to, constitutional-wise, has become such a logjam, and I shake my head in utter ridicule for those. I'm not impressed with this at all. Today it's the governor this, tomorrow that, and all manner of avoidable mess. And those have been plunged into a morass of insults. A state that should normally take its place in the pride of states among Nigeria is a state that today you look at and just shake your head and wonder what has gone wrong.
Now, reports in is that the son of the governor, Akeredolu, who was supposed to deliver the letter to the State Assembly, cannot be found, and he's supposedly with the letter We don't know if he's missing, kidnapped. No, nobody knows for sure. But the fact of the matter is now that he cannot be found. Now, should such an official letter, I mean, question on my mind, should such an official letter be entrusted in the child, a sibling, or, the child of the governor? Is there no officer in government that should have been entrusted with such a letter?
Well, I don't think it's entirely strange. If I get my facts right, I think he's one of the commissioners in the state. So officially, he has a role. I think, yes, the father appointed him then. But there was hue and cry, but he appointed him as one of the commissioners. I think commissioner for special duties thereabouts. So that he de facto, he has a kind of role above virtually all commissioners. It was like the de facto deputy governor, as insinuated then. So if in the capacity of being a commissioner, officially now he's given the letter for the ailing governor, who happens to be his father.
Shouldn't we find a way to separate these two, actually? As a commissioner, he's also the son of the,
It's not outrightly
It's not out of place.
Out of place to have, if your son is competent rather, it's not out of place to place him there. Though there will be, of course, a kind of sentiment, is it because it's his son and that, but if the son has probably become competent over the months of our appointment, no wahala. But my own tip here is that if we go by all we've had from grapevine, all we've had, and when issue that is to come up, there is no, as they'll say, smoke without fire. There are some undercurrents we've had again and again. All that Ondo have been hijacked, that it's been ruled by proxy, the wife and this particular son are in charge. Hence, they collaborate with the tribe, because in Nigeria we're just ethnical and tribal, and to our detriment. When a man occupies office in Nigeria, he's not only doing that in the capacity as maybe, let's say, state governor now, as an engine of that state. He, above all things, occupies the office because he is answerable to a particular tribe who gloats in the fact that our son is there. So whatever goes wrong with the son affects every one of them. This is the reason we have this mess in Ondo State right now. It's a case that, it's not because they want they loathe Aida Tiwa, the deputy, but they just feel our son, our collective project is endangered, and that's why they are fighting back in court. And unfortunately, many wrong steps have been taken. The president has no business in the first place. The constitution is so clear on this, but we are such a vainglorious people that until the president speaks. Imagine what happened during the cash crunch. The Supreme Court had ruled, let status quo be maintained. But some still insist that until the president speaks, as though the president will have to alter the constitution. And this is not a very good arrangement. If it is democracy, then constitution must be adhered to. Constitutionalism is the backbone of any democracy. Unfortunately here, we practice what we can call Kabiyesism. A case where one man, like Kabiyesi as Yorubas will put in, or an Obi, or maybe a Sultan, must still have to activate such. And if we have to wait on the whims and caprice of a man, then we are done for. It's unfortunate. This happened sometime in Taraba when Dambaba Suntai, the then governor, or whatever ran into him then, flew an helicopter, crashed. He didn't die on the spot, but he later died. But because he was on the sickbed, there was all claims and counterclaims that he signed this, he didn't sign that. And on the bigger scale, the Yaradua Sega. Remember all transpired then too. Yaradua is coming back tomorrow. He has said this. He can rule from anywhere. And this brought Nigeria into a big mess. To the point that P&I did act on why Yaradua's saga was on. Some officials, in the name of the president, using official capacity, official letters, to sign all manner of dirty deals that came to bite Nigeria in the behind. Later, we paid for what we didn't buy. So I guess some of these things, these doors have been opened to all of these lizards. Years to come will tell of the decay that they are experiencing in Ondo State right now. We may not appreciate fully what's going on right now, but you can be rest assured that once it's over, years to come, we will now get to see what this has plunged Ondo State into, and I hope they'll recover.
It's interesting that you mentioned this because there have also been allegations that the governor's signature is being forged, that there are inconsistencies with documents being submitted. You've alluded to how risky this can be, but in a situation whereby, due to health, anybody can fall ill, but due to health, if an individual who holds such a position cannot append his signature to a document, are there no other ways to ensure that he validates a document?
Look, you've given an answer. I mean, within your question lies the answer. Why are we this barbaric? I mean, it's human. It's human for one to fall ill and even to die. That's what we are described as mortals. And our mortality is enshrined in the fact that we get sick, we recover, and possibly someday we'll never recover. So why is a man hell bent? I'm not even a man now, because it's illogical that a man that is, at least I have my antenna everywhere, and I heard out that this man, when the governors of the Southwest visited him, they knew that this man possibly is not fit again. But of course, they won't come out to tell us this, as they hid it when it was a year ago then. And I wonder how this man will append the signature. This is the risk when constitutionalism is not adhered to. The deputy governor, by all means, should step in easily. And unfortunately, they have in collusion, in bed with this immorality, with this illegality, the House of Assembly in Ondo State. They should have set up a panel. It's constitutional that, a medical team will assess the governor's health. If it's not fit or otherwise, then they take appropriate decision as guided by the Constitution. But because of whatever is motivating them, and as I've said, you can't take it away from their tribal sentiment. It's our son, so we do everything, even if it's so grossly illegal, so openly, brazenly shameful, to stick to power. This is what is going on there, because it's in the hand of the legislators now to ascertain, is this man fit for to be the governor? And if that's the case, otherwise, let him leave. It's no sentiment here. Okay, and this is the same, this is the same Akeredolu. That's why sometimes you consider people that you take the word of any man, with just a pinch of salt. No wonder in the good book, the Bible, the Lord himself at the point, after doing one or two things, on top of Jesus, and the time this is season, how that he had fed many people, they felt the next was to make him their king. But there's a place that said he didn't accept that role because he knew what was in man. Akeredolu was one of the most vociferous officials then in 2009 when Yar'Adua's issue was up. And he said it clearly in print. Yar'Adua, you're no longer fit. Please vacate office. Blah, blah, blah. The same now Akeredolu is in the same saga. And look at what is going on. So you can't trust any man with anything. No wonder Lord Acton said, power corrupts, absolute power corrupts, absolutely. This is a case, a classic case of that. It's unfortunate, really.
Quite unfortunate indeed. But as it stands now, what is the condition of governance in the state, seeing that there has not been an official transmission of power? It's what we've had is verbal. What do you think is the condition of governance in the state? And how much longer, these are two questions in one, how much longer can the state work without an official, without the deputy governor having an official capacity to administer the state?
Officially, Ondo State, I can say it unequivocally, categorically, Ondo State is on a lockdown, and as an unnecessary, as an unavoidable lockdown. A metaphor is the fact that Akure used to be one of the top 5 cleanest cities, as in very clean cities then, according to ratings. Today, Akure is a filth, and that is just understating it. Akure is so dirty. And as I've said, that's a metaphor for what is going on in Ondo State as a whole. It takes men of will, men that know that, look, when it comes to governance, our emotions are put aside, logic, rationality takes over. But here, what do we have? Sentiments, biases that will lead them further down the ladder. Abyss level is what is on. They know what to do, but they ain't got the will. And not because they ain't got the will, but because they are enmeshed in the mess. They are enjoying the process from the corruption.
What is it that they should do?
Of course, they know what to do. As I said, the bulk start majorly with the assembly in Ondo State House of Assembly. This should have been done long time ago. A man has been out. Our constitution, once it's above 21 days, you must transmit power to your deputy. That's what obtained in our constitution. But they've not adhered to that. It's been out for months and months. Yet they are still dilly-dallying, as in thinking, when it's so clear in black and white, go ahead and, consult medical panel, a medical team, check on him. Is he fit to rule? Otherwise, let him vacate office. It was not inherited. He didn't bring it from wherever. He didn't bring it from heaven. It was put in there and the constitution guides stated clearly there. So they are only playing, they are only being clever by half. And not thanks to the fact that, as I've said, they are getting enriched. They are signing some dirty deals behind. And this will boomerang. Surely it will.
Now, what was the role of President Tinubu in all of this?
For real, to be frank with you, he's got no business. As I've said, this is not some Obasanjo kind of democracy where he bullied everyone. I think we are maturing. 24 years and counting of democracy. We should have left some filtering stage. We should have left some baby steps behind. The constitution is so clear. The ground norm, I can't overstate this. At risk of sounding, like a broken gramophone here. The ground norm, our guidebook, our law book, the ultimate one, has made it clear that once the person in office as a governor, even as a president, is deemed to be unfit by virtue of health or death or maybe impeachment, then the deputy takes over. It is so clear. So this issue of doctrine of necessity is grossly unnecessary. It's only that we only keep showing how vain we are as a people, north, east, west, or south. How, as in base and baser we are as people, banal, ordinary in thinking. We just want to cling. As I said, you can't divorce this. You can't divorce this from the fact that his tribesmen, when you microzone, even his townmen, his clan, will tell you that whatever it takes, he must not leave. We understand what happened when Turai was even parading herself almost as the president of Nigeria. It was my husband, so it was a kind of a family thing, which is unhealthy. That's like I keep imagining, do we practice democracy here, or is just a quasi arrangement to just deceive the world, thereby deceiving ourselves that we are practicing democracy? This is not democracy. This is so ugly. This is hideous, ugly. And if we continue to allow this, anyway, it started with Yar'Adua. We didn't stem it. Even partly with Buhari, the immediate past, president. Go back to states now, Dambaba Suntai of Taraba State, now Ondo State. And yet, a president has no business. For you, he has nothing to say on this. He has nothing. The only reason the president or maybe the federal level gets involved is if there's a state of emergency, then maybe the House of Rep will take over the job or the role of the House of Assembly. And this is not the case there. We're only making a mountain out of a molehill. And it's really unfortunate. Ondo State people, as in indigenous now, residents, it's about time they stood, they rose to call off this atrocity because their state is endangered. I can imagine all that would have transpired while this very avoidable mess is on. P&ID is a classic example of what should not happen when a president fails to hand over power after 21 days of being out of office for whatever reason. P&ID, we paid for what we never bargained for. So many officials then, many of them that by now should be facing, if this government is even serious in fighting corruption, some of them should be answering questions now. So maybe a smaller or even a bigger version of P&ID must be happening right now. It's being cooked in Ondo State, and it's a matter of days or months. We'll get to see what has happened, why this nonsense has transpired.
This nonsense, as you put it, has lingered for way too long. And just about yesterday, a few days, just about yesterday, we saw that the president instructed that Akeredolu transmit power and, ease himself out of office, pending when his health recovers. Do you think that influenced his decision to, tell the public that he's going back on medical leave?
We are just a loud set of people. When you use the word instructed, I say again, Mr. President, you ain't got any power as given by the Constitution.
Well, so you say, but then we see that the president's influence cuts across. The president is settling disputes in Rivers State as well.
Look,
and he's interfering in
tells of our kind of people.
events
and that's
in
why,
Ondo State too.
To an extent, as much as I don't really regard whatever he says, because he's the architect of so many things we face in Nigeria. I'm talking of the former president Obasanjo. But sometimes you imagine, can't we just call off this democracy?
No, but the president we're talking about here is not.
I know. I'm only making an allusion that we have maybe a kind of democracy, if that is anything to call it, that will suit our whims, that will suit our warped way of doing things. Otherwise, if we are truly democratic, the president hasn't got any power to instruct, to wade in. The concern is black and white. Okay, assuming but not conceding.
Okay, maybe instruct is the word you're having an issue with. How about appeal?
Pardon?
How about appeal?
He hasn't got any power to even appeal. But assuming without considering that, okay, let's assume the president must be involved. In what capacity? Okay, as a father of the nation, because we are just, as I've said, familiar people. We love it from the family point of view. Let the president ensure that sanity is restored and done on time. After all, don't forget that the same platform, a road to power, APC now, is the same platform that rules in those states. So let them have their family meeting, as we always want to put it in Nigeria, and settle this, because the odor, the ferocious smell coming from those states is so embarrassing to not only Nigerians, even the black race. The reason some races will still think that maybe we are inferior, because when we do things like this, when it's so clear that we know what to do, but we still want someone to be involved. Okay, now that the person is involved, let him ensure that this is done, and done immediately. This is embarrassing. And to a state that prides itself as the home of, they call themselves the Sunshine State, darkness has beclouded them over time. No sunshine right now. No sunshine. If I go with this American mission now, ain't no sunshine when the governor is gone. Must the governor hold the entire state to ransom? The constitution never provided for that, never envisaged that. He's just a man elected, and he has time frame, time duration. But how come he's holding everyone to ransom? Because some people, as you're about to say, those that only thrive when things go wrong. Like people who want to sell their generator or their plants, and hence they ensure that there is sabotage everywhere. They must destroy all our power plants because they want to sell their generator. These are people that also, they thrive because of things like this. And it's unfortunate. So in the real sense, if it is a democracy, the president cannot instruct, neither can he appeal. But if we practice our own kind of democracy, Nigerian Christian now, as we want to make it, then let the president ensure that sanity is restored, and sanity restored soon.
Let the president ensure, you say?
If we go by our own kind of democracy now, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, let the president ensure. Now, what is the role of the courts in all of this now? The courts in on those states. Is there something that can be, is there a ruling that can be passed to ensure that, look, the transmission is speedily done, and in a situation whereby transmission is not done due to the fact that the governor's son cannot be found, can the courts confer power on the deputy?
Ordinarily, this is a seamless situation, as in so easy, and it's only to be done by this arm of government, the legislature. But if at all the judiciary comes in any of this, they are essentially there to interpret laws. Now, is this law not clear enough? Maybe it's vague, maybe it's ambiguous for them to interpret. Then maybe we call on the judiciary, who, in this case, you only call on the judiciary when maybe a governor is about to be impeached, really, and that's when they consider a panel after the legislature have summoned they've served the governor the letter, notice of impeachment, and later they constitute the judiciary constitute a panel and look into it, and if they deem it fit, they impeach him, still going through the legislature. But in this case, there is no place in our constitution that gives any room at all for the legislature to come in. It's clear when the official, the executive, judiciary rather, when the governor or president, in this case, the one that occupies the executive office, the arrowhead now, is out for 21 days. It's natural that the power is transmitted to his deputy, who acts as the governor or president in active capacity now. So there is no, it is so clear. Even a child, a government student or government 101 student easily can read this. Our sections are there. Section, is it 306 now? And I don't want to sound like a lawyer now, but it's clear in all of this that these are the steps to be taken. So we don't need anything extra. But because of the kind of people we are, the kind of, as in our makeup, as though we are different ontologically from the entire human race, we still want to dance around what should not be danced about. Okay, the judiciary, just to still further save us from embarrassment, as I said earlier, when the president is not even needed in this case, please come around, interpret the law to them. Maybe saying it into their right ears, they can't hear properly. Amplify your voice, let them know that, all right, the man in the center, the executive governor who is sick, has been out for months, power must be transmitted to the deputy. Simple and short. If that is what they want to hear, then judiciary, please come in, because overall, things that are affected right now is, one, I pity those that work for the municipal government. I'm talking about the civil service. Right now, you can be rest assured that their payment, emolument, and the like would have stopped. And imagine all we've had to go through in this year alone. Cash crunch, subsidy, and what have you, in this same year. Imagine someone, because with this ongoing crisis, nothing will move. Who signs what? Who signs what? And it will be a chance for some people to siphon, to steal, as in, to go into as in graft, stealing. Hence, I call on EFCC, ICPC to sharpen their swords after this debacle, they must swing into action. They must, because you can imagine all that would have transpired. So again and again, judiciary, if they have to come in, which is unnecessary, but again, assuming but not conceding, let them step in and amplify that. Okay, maybe you didn't know, maybe you chose not to know, because sometimes it could be mischief, sometimes some people are just belligerent. Okay, now it is considered that the deputy steps in when the governor is out for so and so days, which they know, but as I said, they are only trying to guide their own, and this is again, it's acting in a manner that make anyone of right thinking, anyone that rational, to imagine that maybe some people are still subhuman, maybe some people are Neanderthal, some people are of the Iron Age, honestly.
All right, then. Well, let's move away from Ondo State. Let's go to Abia State now. Let's go to Abia State. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll get into the second topic for discussion this morning.
When your morning starts, make sure to look around for the right company to serve you everything you need to know about what's happening around you. That's why you need VOP this morning, because we will climb this far to give you a voice in what's going on, from news, reviews, politics and the economy, sports, and even entertainment. Join us weekdays, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. right here on VOP TV. VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice.
All right, now, so let's go to Abia State, where on Tuesday, Governor Alex Oti presented a budget. The budget estimated to be 567.2 billion naira, titled Budget of New Beginning. Now, for the 2024 fiscal year to the State House of Assembly. Now, Governor Oti mentioned that the key distinction in the 2024 budget estimate, however, is in the direction of spending. Now, the Abia State governor said, and I quote, "While the 2023 projection allocated 53% of the entire budget for capital expenditure, our target in the 2024 fiscal year is to spend 84% on the total expenditure on capital projects and commit 16% to recurrent expenditure, as against 47% in the 2023 estimate." Now, the governor expressed his plan to finance the deficit of 401 billion naira, partly by new borrowings, estimated at 385.3 billion naira, with about 50% of this borrowing sourced externally, while the balance will be sourced locally. According to Governor Oti, all borrowing in the 2024 fiscal year would be committed strictly to capital development projects with a direct impact on the economy of the state, especially roads, schools, and medical facilities, whose impacts on the general economy in the medium to long term will generate the sufficient returns that would enable the state to meet its obligations to the creditors smoothly and ultimately pay off the loans in due course. Now, the Speaker of the State House of Assembly, Right Honorable Emmanuel Emerewa, described the budget as robust and capital intensive, and the first time in the history of the state that such amount is budgeted for, and a robust move that will enhance the economy and every human life. Now, this is different. This is way higher than the 2023 budget, which was transmitted to the State Assembly in 2022, November 2022. That was in the range of a little over 100 billion naira. Now we're looking at 500 billion naira. And most of it will go to paying off salaries and all of that. How do you react to especially as it concerns borrowing to, spend on salaries and other things?
It's one thing for the governor with his budget, presentation, approval, possibly execution, and then the last thing is always evaluation to sound highfalutin, to label it budget of this or that. But let me just first state that I hope Governor Oti, Alex Oti now, who I can possibly describe as a man to whom much has been given, much should rightfully be expected. Because Abia State of the 5 southeast states in Nigeria, I've had this curse, suffered this curse of, or jinx of, not having good governance at all. From the days of Oji Zokadu to his nephew, Theodoji, then Okize Pazu, who was just, to Alex Oti. I hope he's going to break this vicious cycle. Of the 5 states, as I said, a level of modicum of good governance have been felt in other states. Enugu, Ebonyi, under Umahi, Imo states, whatever side you belong to now. Rochas in the first time was a governor until he became a full politician in the second time. And then not even Anambra State. You go back to the days of the first governor then, I think they tried. Peter Obi did his bit. Maybe we succeeded, William Obiano, maybe it was not too sterling. But I learned from whispers and from some confirmation how that Soludo is doing some things that will enhance. Though you don't forget the fact that Southeast has been beleaguered, of this IPOB issue, but we're not even going there now. But now for Abia State, they can't. And Abia, that I know, will never be proud of the governance they've had in the past 24 years. And they label themselves God's own state. So the governor can label the budget of new beginning, but will it prove to be a new beginning indeed? He's got a lot on his table, a lot. Governor Oti, as I've said, from the banking sector, and he had a sterling performance there. His name is well entrenched, we're talking of some titans in the banking industry. Will he now take this same experience and transfer it make it work on a larger scale? Because it's always easy. When Governor of Anambra said the incumbent, Soludo was governor of Central Bank, he felt, it will so be, you can easily translate after I was governor, he campaigned with his baritone voice. I was the governor of. But the first 3 months in office, he came out to tell the world that being governor of a bank is entirely different from governing a state. Governing a bank is just a microcosm. You have just board of directors, guys in their suits, well learned. These are guys that are equal, as in they have their pockets deep, they are skilled laborers and the like. So you are working with the line, the halves. But when you govern a state, you have all facets of life, from the most downtrodden to the barely surviving, to the have-nots, to that woman that needs emergency 1,500 to buy drugs, and all manner of things. He got to know that governing state is entirely different. So also, I hope Governor Oti is coming to realize, because not too long ago, there was this spending spree issue that came out, is it Procurement Act, that leaked to the world, how that in Abia State alone, they spent close to 930 million just for food. You wonder, did they bring, is it manna falling from heaven, and they have to pay and send it back to angels? So you imagine all manner. So the writing should be done on him now. But again, much is expected of Governor Oti, because he had tried in the past to be governor, but maybe because of the platform he occupied then, he didn't win. Now that he's in power, and don't forget that he's about the first governor in Abia State that will not really be backed by any godfather. The people really elected him. Unlike when you go back to Theodoji, Okeze Pazu, that embarked on some ridiculous project. Then he was boasting out that he will give 500 naira to a mother coming out from the hospital.
I remember that one.
I found that.
Anyway, you have no idea what 500 naira can do.
Really. That's a metaphor of the kind of governance they've suffered, endured over the years. So it's incumbent on the incumbent now to please break this. Let him take his rich experience from the banking sector, bring in investors. Abia State is the most appointing, because in Abia State is area market, possibly the biggest in West Africa, if not in Africa. This is a market that ordinarily can serve the whole of this sub-region, but unfortunately it's not doing well. And also it's got some security issues to tackle, and it's not exclusive to Abia State alone. The Southeast is on its knees now with respect to some agitations. So it's got to really work with as many and it must be transparent. Accountability is a key word here. You can't start on the note it started, because the Procurement Act made something, and some of us are, I'm a fan, I must admit, of Governor Oti, and I'm rooting for him. But when I heard about this Procurement Act, though he came out to wash his hands off some of the things, and well, I still choose to believe him. But I want him to know that the budget is only an estimation, it's only as in a speculation. It must be made to work. You must breathe life into it. You must work assiduously 24/7 to ensure that all you have in mind for Abians will come to pass. As I've said, Abia remains a raw material, and by extension the whole country. That's when I hear that Nigeria has potentials. Potentials is not enough. As John Maxwell once wrote, talent is just 20%. You need other factors to make your talent bloom. So also, Abia State, with the right leadership, we did not enjoy it over 24 years. I hope, as I've said, Alex Oti breaks this dog. If the budget is far more than that of last year, it's only on paper. Will its effect be far more than that of last year? That's what we are concerned. Will it bring the basics to Abians? Will it, by extension, boost Nigerian economy? Because one of the reasons the Nigerian economy is always comatose, is always on its knees, is that the federating units are not doing enough. It's one thing for the federal at the center to, imagine or propose or try to do one or two things. But if the federating units are not there, are not acting as they should, then we'll still find ourselves being dragged. As they would say, a rich man, just one rich man, one thriving man in the midst of several poor people is equally poor, because he will be overwhelmed. So when these federating states are not doing well, by extension, it affects Nigeria. So let Governor Oti know that it's good to read or to give a budget estimation of, so and so. You could tell of the respect he enjoys there. Seamlessly he got the budget passed, unlike some government who are saying battling River State for now, he got it passed. But will he ensure that all the loopholes are blocked? Because sometimes chronism sets in, prebendalism, by that I mean your people, you think of only your people. That was what really affected Orji Uzokalo. He was only concerned about a set of people. And why did Ikpeazu fail to win the Senate seat? Because as governor, he didn't even remember his district. So sometimes it's a case of it goes beyond. They don't think of serving the entire state. They're only concerned about their own local, and that is detrimental to their governorship. So let Governor Oti look away from all of this. Let him go and break that cycle that Abians have suffered. Call on an Abian today, somebody from Abia State, will tell you that it's like they are under a curse, under a spell of bad governance, bad governors.
Well, some would say the whole Nigeria seems to have been under a spell of bad
governance.
Yes.
You can say that again. You can say that again.
Now let's break it down. Let's break this budget down into allocation to different sectors of the economy. The Governor Oti did say that 44.76% of the budget will be committed to the economic sector, under which works would get 16.97%, land and housing would receive 9.9%, while 5.12% would be committed to agriculture, and finance would receive 5.23%. Now, let's take that in. He added here that 40.07% of the budget would be committed to the social sector, under which education will receive a total of 20%. Healthcare will get 15.04%, while youth and sports development will get 3.17% of the budget.
Well, yes, I was waiting for these three, the trial of health, education, and youth development, because these are sectors that guarantee human development index. And this is when you break down an average budget, you have the gross domestic product, which is about what you produce within and out of the state, and within that state, and what is manufactured. You have the human development index, which is always about the most important, because you can as well have all this on paper. As someone who found out you are building infrastructure. Are you building the people that are using infrastructure? If the people are very sick there, who uses all those things? We're not going to have a ghost town because of. So I commend the fact that he has looked really deep into education. That's my bias anyway. Health, and of course, social development. When you now aggregate all this, you imagine what is the recurrent expenditure and capital expenditure. Was that broken down in the budget? I haven't gone through it. It's still a case where we have our federating units and even our country as a whole still going to end up, because when you evaluate this budget, they will still end up as budget deficit. And what this will easily mean is that if it occurs again and again, recession may be knocking on the door. It could be. And you know how recession can be so traumatic. So for him here, I still feel from what you've read, it's still going to be a case of more on recurrent expenditure. And don't forget that Nigeria as a whole holds a lot, and all these federating units too, the whole. Because when you read your prologue concerning this particular topic, it has a section for payment of debt. Now, in paying the debt, how do they recover? What will Abia State really do to generate revenue? That's why they must look much, they must build their shadow much on what comes out from Abia. What do they produce? What do they manufacture? And a good example is, as I've said, the area market. That market alone, if it is well groomed, should be. And I remember, I think during, was it Jonathan, was about rounding off, then Buhari picked up for a while, how that they build their satellite on some important sub-regional markets. Area was easily picked from the southeast. They considered the ancient Borno market in the northeast. The northwest, they went for a particular market in Sokoto. But still focusing on Abia State now, it tells of the importance of that particular market and the subjunctions, other markets associated with it. If they want to truly ensure that this budget spirals down for good, ensuring that the basic of food, shelter, and clothing is well done, then they must ensure that how they generate revenue must utmost in their mind, so that they can clear their debt up to a particular level and still serve the people. But if all they think of, and which is the average Nigerian mantra, the governor, after all, I paid salaries, this should be something you boast of in the 18th century, not in this current age, this digital age. You are doing your duty by paying. No, don't pay them now. And they make that a campaign tool. So it should not go that path, because don't go the path of your predecessor. Ikpazu that made, even he was gloating that he brought in a fast food. That was one of his achievements. Hear me. He brought in a fast food. Of course, I won't give free advert here, into Abia State. And he claimed that one of his achievements was that he brought in that fast food outlet. So that's sort of how low that governor was thinking. But our OT, who has been an experienced bank, who is exposed, cannot afford to go that route by ensuring that only salaries are paid. What will Abia generate? What will they manufacture? What will they add to the Nigerian economy? What will they sell to the outside world? How will they boost their local economy? How will they empower? That's why, again, I look at the fact that the Human Development Index route, in the name of health sector, education sector, and sports, as in youth development sector, must really not only be seen to be written, must be acted upon. If it's acted upon, in 2-3 years, you will see that the local economy of Abia State will come up, and it will affect the southeastern region. Although we must consider the security aspect as well. That's why they must work in collaboration with the federal government. I said that here before. For security to be enhanced, there must be cooperation and collaboration. You can't do it all by yourself. That's why any country has its Ministry of Defense always gulping the largest share. So they must work with the federal government to ensure that security is stabilized there, so that it will bring in investors. When we go about cutting investors, or we want them to come and invest here, come and do this here, as I've said, you don't have to tell them. If what you're doing is right, it will naturally, you don't put a cube of sugar somewhere and then go and make an announcement, ants, please come. No. They naturally, they'll come. It will naturally gravitate towards the cube of sugar. As they will say, where there is a carcass, vulture will gather. So if Abia State will, as they focus, as they've given ample allotment to these 3 sectors of education, health, and youth development, I think they are on the right trajectory. But they must not only say it, they must be seen to be doing. They must be doing it, and must be seen to be doing it. Empowering schools, of course, teachers should not suffer unnecessarily. Developing, bringing in digitalization into their education, the health system, the primary dispensaries, the primary sector should be boosted. We don't have to go to secondary as in general hospital for mild headache. So OT, Governor OT now, he has his work well spread, but let him work on this aspect. And when the Human Development Index is really up, developed, then really they are on their way to El Dorado.
All right then. Well, let's watch the budget presentation there, as the governor, talks about the 2024 budget.
The way it was presented shows clearly that we are now determined to start afresh, rebuild our state, construct roads, eradicate insecurity, make our state conducive for investments, both local and foreign, to flow into the economy. So all these require a lot of thinking, doing things differently, and ensuring that there is a clear departure from the past. So the budget we have presented is a budget that speaks to all the things we intend to do with the state.
All the things that his administration intends to do with the state, but then borrowing is a large, borrowing would be a large part of how he intends to get this money. And we just, just elaborated on how Nigeria itself has been borrowing. I mean, Nigeria itself will borrow to finance its own budget. But if we continue to borrow, how detrimental really would this be going forward if we continue? I mean, agriculture, yes, there's a percentage placed in agriculture, but shouldn't we have more of this budget as against having pay rise, as he has indicated that there will be a pay rise for civil servants in this state? We know what happens when there's a pay rise. Automatically, there's inflation because price of goods and services will go up.
Landlord will surely know and come and knock on your door.
And let's not also forget that the civil service is just a little chunk, a little percentage of the entire population. So if you're increasing the salaries of civil servants, what then would happen to the rest of the population? How will this go down?
Now, let me still go back to the government bit. He said a clear departure from, I guess he should have said the immediate past. Because as much as they've suffered terrible governance in 24 years, it got even worse by the years, by the terms. Ojokado was like bad, Theology took it to a worse level, and Ekpazu took it to a level that was more catastrophic, even higher than worst.
But you're a fan of Alex Oti and you believe that he will do something
because
different.
of his track record.
Okay.
I still will give him the benefit of the doubt because it appears to me he comes across as someone that should act. He should have really been the governor some 4 or 5 years ago, but for whatever reasons of the platform he occupied then, now that he's there, is the state, because sometimes we don't define what we really want as a state or even as a country. Are we agro-based? Are we tourism-based? Are we manufacturing-based? All of these are not well ironed out. So that's why we sometimes grope in the past. You think Botswana, you think Kenya, you think Tanzania. These are countries that you think them, I think tourism is a powerhouse. You think countries like the West now, of course, theirs is just, they are industrialized, they manufacture, they feed the world in terms of finished product. What is Nigeria and some other countries known for? It could be as simple as make the most of the entertainment world that is blooming right now. But because we want to put our hands in many things, we end up doing nothing. When the president presented the budget about 3 weeks ago, said we're going to borrow 7.8 trillion, which will now make our public debt 94 trillion naira, which sounds very, very odious to the ears, very stinging to the ears. But it's not an offense to borrow. But what do you use or what do you spend on when you even borrow? Do you spend, or you borrow just to pay salaries, which is most ridiculous? Do you borrow just because you want to buy cars for some phantom office that don't exist? Do you borrow because you want to buy a yacht for the Navy, which is highly incongruous? The Navy will never need a yacht. So I hope Alex Oti knows exactly why they want to borrow. We shouldn't criminalize borrowing. We all borrow. Even the biggest economies in the world are the largest debtors. But we can see why they borrow, what they borrow for. So if RBI is taking them back on that, fine. But what mitigates endless borrowing is when you are having a concomitant production rate, America, China, Australia, Brazil, Japan, as you go all around, they borrow. But they borrow because they are creditworthy. They have all it takes to keep borrowing almost eternally. They produce, they manufacture. You can't go out there, they see that tire was made in Brazil, is that plane was made in Indonesia, and all of this. So they borrow because they have what it takes to meet that borrowing. But here, that is a lacuna. We borrow, but there is no, as in, commensurate plan to mitigate borrowing. And that's why we keep borrowing, and we don't have anything to account for. So if we borrow, which is not a crime, as I've said, we must also be generating revenue, even if it doesn't match up with our borrowing level. But at least it will still plug some holes. But a case of borrowing to the highest heaven and you are down there doing nothing, it makes borrowing a way of life, and it further plunges you into abyss, into morass. So let's again emphasize this. Yes, he has his budgets, allocations for Human Development Index by way of health, education, and youth development, which is good. That has effect now and in the future. But also, let him ensure that as they go are borrowing, the manufacturing aspect should be ensured, and they have a ready market there. It's an international market.
Which was even where he stood to talk about the budget.
So let him do this.
Area market.
I can't overstate it. That market is a potential for the whole country. Area market, with all that transpire there, can supply all that the whole of African sub-region need. And I'm not exaggerating. But over the years, poor governance, bad leadership, untoward mentorship has drowned that market to a very sorry state. But it can bring it up again. Area market is what to Abia, what Ajakuta has been to Nigeria, and albatross on our neck. But we can remove it. We can. The willpower. We must not only say it, we must do it. We must not only intend, we must act. And when we act, then the country, because when our federating units are doing very well, you don't go to America and I know I have friends. One, I think I said it here on your show before. One, I was traveling. I'm going to America. Good luck to you. I'm not a fan of traveling out of the country. Where are you going? He said going to Rhode Island. I said, Rhode, are you right? He said yes. And he's been there for almost a decade now. We talk a lot. He said Rhode Island is not any inferior to New York or New Jersey or maybe California. Yes, not very popular, but Rhode Island has all it takes because they don't have this feeding bottle economy. No, they don't have to depend on Washington for anything. The state has its laws. Things are done right there. They even do more for America than expect America from the center to do for them. And it cuts across some of these very less popular states, Arkansas, Idaho, and the like. Yeah. They don't depend on the center. So if our states too will win themselves of this going to Abuja always begging when they have all it takes. Ondo State has the largest bitumen deposit in Africa, second in the world. Our area markets in Abia State, and you can go on and on. Our tanning industry, where we make leather, if we make the most from the federating unit, really they don't have any reason to go to Abuja to beg for anything. All right, this would be a good place to anchor this conversation. I must say a very big thank you to you, Dr. Moses Adebayo, for your views and thoughts. Thank you. All right, that's the show for today. Political Voice will make a return same time tomorrow. On behalf of the team right here in Lagos, I am Moses Humphrey, wishing you a beautiful day. Bye for now.